Maoist Rebel News fans, I was thinking about how unrevolutionary our society is and what are the causes behind that and the reasons and whatnot. While doing that, I thought about something else. Something that we don't have that all the previous revolutionary societies on the path to becoming revolutionary did have. What is it they had that we didn't? A radical rupture. Something that they did, something that each individual did to cement their place as a revolutionary. Not only did this cement their place as a revolutionary, but it was something that could not be undone. Something that was completely radical and completely challenged the established order. Something that defied all social conventions to declare their desire to be a revolutionary. In pre-revolutionary China, or during the time when it was building up to the revolution, there was cutting the queue. Now, you know those old hairstyles in China where the hair stopped here and it went back into a long braid. And it had its cultural significance and whatnot. Youths, rebellious youths who had decided that the system was wrong and wanted to rebel and were part of the revolutionary movement, they would go and take a pair of scissors and cut their queues in public. Now, this was something completely unthinkable at the time. If you did this, you brought disgrace and dishonor upon yourself and upon your family. That was a radical thing to do. You did it in public so that everybody could see you rejected the way the system is and declared your intentions to have a new way. That was the radical rupture in revolutionary China. I mean, there were other ones, but this is the one that was most visual that people saw. The guerrillas in Tibet, not Tibet, Nepal. When a woman left her family and went to join the rebel forces, she was making a very radical rupture. By doing so, she was never going to be able to marry within her village or even the surrounding areas, ever. Because she had broken from tradition and was perceived by many to be an insult to that tradition, no matter how backwards or how oppressive it was. That was a radical rupture. There was no going back after having done it. Just like cutting the queue. You couldn't go back later and say, well, okay, blah, 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 I want back in. You just couldn't do it. That radical rupture cemented your spot in the rebellion against the established order. Now, there are many other examples from all other revolutionary movements, but we don't have one. We don't have our own radical rupture that takes us out of our place in society and cements our new path towards where we're going and what it is that we want to do. Of course, there are a lot of other reasons why this society isn't revolutionary and whatnot, but I'm particularly focusing on the radical rupture. We don't have that. The closest thing in recent history that we ever had to a radical rupture was back in the 60s. Back then, the rupture was to go to a commune, and you decided to hell with your material goods, you were going to go to a commune. Unfortunately, going to a commune can be reversed. You can say, oh, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, and then go back to mainstream society. So it wasn't really much of a rupture because you could always undo it. Now, the problem was hippies, while having a political consciousness, didn't have much of a social consciousness. Sure, they could say, oh, war is wrong, the system's oppressive, blah, 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 but they never really had any ability, from what I saw, to ever really put it through any critical analysis. It was, war is wrong, all of this causes war, so I'm not a part of it. Again, that's utopian, not scientific. to be scientific, you would understand the nuances and why it did that, and the specific things in the society that had to be changed in order to prevent that from happening. They were very superficial in their rebellion. The things they did, they went and they got long hair, which could very easily be undone. You could just get a haircut and then go and get a regular job. Put on tie-dye clothes, and as much as that was an expression of freedom. And although I think personally, I think wearing clothes as an expression of freedom it's pretty pointless and very superficial. To me, freedom is something you do. It's something that you think. It's ideas that you can exchange, not clothes you can put on. I think that's pretty superficial. But again, all of their things were really superficial. Well, I'm going to go get high because the establishment doesn't want me to. Now, there were those who really genuinely wanted to get high, and there were so many who did it just because it's rebellion. And that's a pretty sad reason to get high. You're supposed to rebel against something that you believe is wrong towards something that you believe is right. Not just simply rebel against something that you think is wrong, or you just at least perceive to be wrong. Don't be a rebel without a cause. Don't be just a rebel. Be a rebel with a cause, something that you're trying to get to, something that you're trying to create, a better society. Don't just rebel for the sake of rebelling. That makes you no different than a teenager just doesn't want to do homework. You gotta do better than that. If you're a revolutionary, you're looking to change things, not just rebel against things. The hippie movement was very superficial in that it didn't really have. There wasn't an organized goal to get to. It was just these very utopian ideas that weren't really scientifically thought out. And they thought just by thinking nicer things and by going to a commune, they'd be changing themselves and not the world around them. It's a very old line, be the change that you want to see in the world. Okay, that's great, but you are one person. Everybody's got to change in order for that actual change to happen. And you have to facilitate that change among society. And you don't do that by just changing yourself. You do that by changing the society and changing the culture that you live in. This is one of the huge fundamental flaws behind Gandhi, aside from his blatant racism and cooperation with British imperialism over other countries. But that's for another video. We don't have a radical rupture here. We need something that radically changes our lives from the way they are now to the new path that we want to be. I'm not talking about some kind of commune. It's just a change that you cannot go back from. That radical break from the existing culture and the existing society towards the new one. And we don't have anything like that. So I want to ask you, what do you think a radical rupture in our society would be? Let me know what you think it would be in the comment section below.